Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Shield. It is wonderful to see you all here today. It's been a while. My podcast episodes have been a little off and on, so I do apologize for that. We will get back on a regular schedule soon. But in the meanwhile, it is so good to be here today and just to see everybody. So thank you for being here. All right. I think I just said that. I am going to talk today about ambivalence. So, are you ambivalent about finding love? This is a topic that came from our listeners. Several of you sent this in. And I want to thank you for that first, because we really do take your suggestions to heart. We want to have you email us your ideas because it does help us tailor this podcast more to you and what you're interested in hearing. So I could talk on and on. I could sit and listen to myself talk all the time. And so I want to make sure that I'm really speaking to the subjects that are on your minds, that are on your hearts, that are blocking all of you from finding love. And I need to know from you what those subjects are. So please send them in to me. So let's talk about ambivalence and finding love. So, what does it mean to be ambivalent? Well, it means to have mixed feelings. So if you've ever met a guy and you kind of like him, but you kind of don't, you're ambivalent about that guy. Okay. And when it comes to dating or finding love, when we say we want a partner, but then we put everything else in front of that, we prioritize other things, and we don't really stop and look seriously at this part of our lives and work it out, find a way to have that partner, then we're being ambivalent. We're saying one thing, but we're putting all these other things in front of it. So you may, it might be that, oh God, I would love to have a partner. It would be wonderful to be able to plan a trip this winter somewhere warm. And gosh, to go with my partner in the middle of winter to Mexico or wherever. We're actually going to go to Laos, my husband and me. I think that's the place we've settled on finally. But yeah, I can't handle the winters. We moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico during the pandemic from Los Angeles, the land of perpetual sunshine, and here we are. So, but it's just to be able, here you are and you're saying, oh my God, wouldn't that be great and whatever. And meanwhile, you're putting everything else as a priority. You're not out there finding that travel buddy, that future husband. You're working, you're going to school, you're taking another course, but you're doing a million things that are going to make it impossible for you to ever carve out the time to find love. So that's ambivalence. And if you're not fitting this into your schedule, then that's proof that you're ambivalent. If this is something, and one of the biggest things is some of you don't even allow yourselves to feel how much you want this. That's a whole other story. We're talking about those of you that know you want it, that say, oh my gosh, I want it. And wouldn't it be great? And oh God, I'd do anything to have a partner. But then you're not making it happen. So if you're not fitting it into your schedule, that is proof that you're ambivalent. We make time for what really matters to us. We carve out the time. If you have a friend that you're not so fond of, you're ambivalent about her, you may make some time for her. If you have nothing else to do or no better offer, you may go hang out with her. But if you have a friend whose company you just love, you're going to make all the time in the world for that person. And most people feel about dating and searching for partnership the way, the way the first description, right? Of, you make time for it if there's nothing else to do, or if life gets bad enough, you start to feel lonely enough. A lot of people during the pandemic, their pain got so bad that they had to pay attention. Their loneliness and pain was so bad, right? That they had to pay attention to their ambivalence, and they had to look at why they were alone. So what you want to really think about is your ambivalence is getting in the way. And it's this terrible sort of little teeter-totter that you're on. Sometimes you want it, sometimes you don't. And as long as you're on that teeter-totter, you're not going anywhere. You're not getting anywhere. You get that? You're just going up and down and back and forth between, I want it, but I got all this other stuff to do. So you have to look at why you're being wishy-washy about this. Why? Why aren't you facing this most important part of your life? So you want to ask yourself a few questions. You want to ask yourself, what is preventing me from facing this part of my life? What's really underneath all of the excuses? What's underneath me going to my work because that's the easy out, or busying myself with my kids, or, whatever it is, traveling, fill in the blank. Some of you get on sporting teams and join clubs and do retreats and workshops. All of that stuff to fill in your time and keep busy, when what you really want is a partner to hang out with, a playmate, a buddy. You can keep yourself busy. You don't want to be doing all that stuff alone. So ask yourself, what is preventing me from facing this part of my life? Why do I say I want to find a man to share my life with me and then do nothing to really make it happen? So why do I say I want to find a man to share my life with me and then do nothing to make it happen? Why? Why am I doing that? Why am I giving up on the most important part of life, which I really do believe it is? I think the greatest gift in life is a loving partner to share it with you. Children are wonderful, parents, friends, all of those things are beautiful. But there is something about finding love and true partnership that is extraordinary. So why do I say I want a man to share my life with me and then do nothing to make it happen? Why am I letting this beautiful part of my life slip by? Why do I make everything else more important and keep pushing back my search for love? Why do I keep putting it on the back burner, telling myself it's just going to happen? So you might be thinking, Lisa, I am on dating apps and I'm not meeting quality men. It's not like I'm just doing nothing, or all I meet are princes who turn out to be frogs. But it's not like I'm not trying. So I want you to listen carefully to what I'm about to say. You can be on the apps or dating sites, and you can still be ambivalent. You can even go out on dates and be ambivalent. People who are ambivalent self-sabotage, often without even knowing it. They're subconsciously holding themselves back so they don't get hurt. They may even be going through the motions. It doesn't mean you're not doing anything. You can still be ambivalent and you can still be self-sabotaging. So if you're ambivalent and you're on the dating sites, You might just find something wrong with you're on the site, no, I'm doing something, but there's something wrong with every single person you're finding, and you don't give anyone a chance. That's ambivalence. People who enjoy people and who are open and really want this, they make it happen. They look for people that they connect with and that they're interested in. They're not ambivalent, and they create that opening. I had a girlfriend, and she really loved men, and she had no trouble connecting with them, and she enjoyed their company so much. And the thing about her was she was so sweet and so charming that men really were attracted to her, and she was open to them, and not just certain men. She was kind and playful with all men. That was her nature. She really, really, really loved connecting with men, and she didn't care if it was, a shorter, more bald guy, or with a belly, or a tall, handsome, guy that just knocked her socks off. She was sweet to men, and they felt that. They really felt that about her. And so she never had trouble. And the funny thing was, it wasn't that she was a beautiful woman. There were far more physically attractive women than her, but her kindness radiated, and it made her more beautiful because men felt so welcome and so safe with her. So it was really a beautiful gift, and I loved watching her. But so many of us women have so many walls up. We judge men, we're hard on them, and we find something wrong with almost every man we meet. And it's heartbreaking. It really is. So, you might find something wrong with everyone you meet. Someone's too short, uneducated, has bad, you look for all the mistakes in his profile. He wrote a profile that was too long. He didn't write a profile that was long enough. I don't know. We find a million billion reasons just to disqualify people. But people who want intimacy and closeness, they're way more open. And so that you can be ambivalent and still be online, still be on the apps, and still be pushing guys away. And I know for some of you, it feels like you can't meet anyone you want to date, that there's just nobody. And, some of you guys come on calls with me and you're like, oh, I get so much attention and I get hit on and blah, blah, blah. But I just don't, there's just not anyone I'm interested in. Right. And if you're not getting attention from the right men, you're not getting attention from the right men. It doesn't matter if you're getting no attention or a ton of attention. All that matters is, are you open? Are you connecting with men? Are you full of possibility? And are you giving people chances? And if not, and if you just think, oh, I don't find anyone I like, well, I think behind that is ambivalence. So let's talk about some of the reasons why you might be ambivalent. Number one, you're afraid that you're going to wind up in another horrible relationship. Yeah, you've been hurt. You've had your heart broken. You've had men lie and cheat and maybe steal from you, be abusive, narcissistic, betray your trust, damage you financially, make promises that they didn't fulfill on. There's all kinds of ways that we've been hurt by men. And if you're not, then something's wrong. if you're not afraid that you might wind up in the wrong relationship again, if you've been in a lifelong series of bad relationships, then yeah, you should look at that. But most of us are afraid that we will find ourselves in another terrible place and not know how to get out of it, because we might get attached to somebody that we really care about and not be able to let that person go. And so there's a lot of ambivalence because part of you knows that you've got to date and learn about how to choose a good partner. But another part of you knows that you may get hurt again in that process. So there's ambivalence about winding up in another bad relationship. Another one is that some of us don't feel lovable. And we're afraid that if we go out and we really search for love and we really date and open up our hearts, we are afraid that what if I don't find him? What if I'm not lovable? What if there's no match for me? And so if you never really try, you can always say to yourself, well, I never really went for it. Well, if you never really go for something, you're never going to get it. It takes risk to have the things we want in life, because most of the time we don't have the things we want in life, not because we can't have them, but because we're afraid to go for them. We have to look at ourselves. We have to face our fears and our negative beliefs. I'm going to digress for a second, but um, I sat back in my life and I realized that I had a lot of ambivalence about money. I was saying, oh my God, I want to be successful. I want to know what it feels like to do that in my life, to make $1 million just for the sake of making $1 million, just to know if I could do it. And I had to look at my money consciousness. I had to face this whole part of myself. And I'm still a work in progress. This is a part of my life that's still evolving and growing. And I'm having to really look at myself and my beliefs around what I feel I deserve, being able to charge a certain amount of money for my services. I mean, that's all scary stuff. At least for me, it is. I'm not that person with that massive ego that's like, oh, I deserve this much money. That's not who I am. I want to know what it feels like to be prosperous, but I don't just feel like I'm entitled to it or I deserve it. I've worked really, really hard to get to where I am in my career and in my life so that I could be doing the work I do. And I've had to really grow up and face myself so that I could do this. And a lot of you are so afraid to get out and date and to look at yourselves and why this hasn't happened for you. And take it seriously, but a lot of you just sort of half-ass it, like I was doing for a long time in my life. And I know for myself, I was really afraid. What if I go for this? What if I give it everything I have and I never find love? What if I couldn't find a man who I respected and admired who wanted to partner with me? What if that didn't happen? How would I feel? Well, I got to a point where I didn't want to not give myself that chance, right? Where I stopped being ambivalent about it. And I said, I've got to really look at this part of my life. So even if I hadn't found the love of my life, I would have, it would be worth it no matter what, because I think dating is one of the most incredible processes. you can learn more about yourself, how to relate to other people. You can learn more about compassion and kindness and forgiveness and gratitude. And oh gosh, it really is the most extraordinary journey to actually go out and consciously search for a partner. So, what I'm saying to you is it's a win win either way. It's just a win win. I mean, no matter what, if you really do go on this journey, there's so many opportunities if you approach it in the right way to become um, a person who understands how to connect with the opposite sex and really how to create connection with anyone, how to coexist with other people harmoniously, and how to be humble. Because when you really are in an equanimous relationship and it's truly equal, then there is no ego, not ego, but it's balance. There's two people that are just there to be there for one another and to take care of the relationship. And so it becomes something that's born out of love. And you can learn how to do all of this. I mean, I don't know of a more wonderful exploration that any human being could have in his or her life than to explore conscious love, a conscious loving relationship, whether that's with, another woman or another man. But it's to be able to do that. And dating is kind of the pathway, to finding a partner that you can do that with. And so when I dated, yeah, I had to be willing to face this fear that there might not be someone out there for me. But I also knew that if I found him, it was going to be amazing, and it has been. So let's look at some more before. Oh, I'm doing good on time. Um, let's look at another one. So you don't know how to connect with men. This is a big one. This was a big one for me. So I was ambivalent about dating, partly because I really did not know how to connect to men. And it was so uncomfortable for me. It was so uncomfortable. And, I'll just, little psychological thing here. It does go back to my dad. My primary male, I felt very much rejected by him. And I didn't know how to be with men, how to relate to them. They were foreign creatures to me. I didn't understand who men were, what they wanted and needed from a woman. It was really scary for me. And anytime I had tried to really reach out to my father, he wasn't there, or he pushed me away quite often. And so that was my patterning, very deeply ingrained in me, was that if I tried to reach out for connection with men, I would get rejected. And I had to face that. I had to look at that. And I had to face that fear, that men would push me away or that I didn't know how to connect with them. And I'm still not like a total flirt. And it's not like I go out and, I'm just like men flock to me. Number one, it's not even something I want to create with men. So that's not an energy that I want. If I meet a man that I'm genuinely interested in, I know how to, create a connection there. But, I'm not there trying to get all kinds of men to find me attractive. But what I wanted was to really know how to have a truly playful, romantic connection with a man that I respected and admired. And so I had to get past that fear of, getting rejected by men so that I could learn how to do that. And it was scary for me. And so for a long time, I think I didn't really date and I didn't really put myself out there because I was afraid of that. And I think a lot of you are too. You don't know how to connect with men. You don't. And I'm going to be very honest, the way, in my estimation, and this is just me, I look at the way I see 99% of the women around me connecting with men, and I'm pretty shocked. I'm blown away by the way I see them interact, just extremely masculine or, controlling, or they talk down to men, or they use their sexuality to attract men. Not the way I ever wanted to connect with men, but in order to learn the way I wanted to do it, I had to figure that out and face that fear. And they're great. Men are really, really, really great. And sure, there's guys that just are after sex, and there are guys who uh, are just, sweethearts and would do anything in the world to make a woman happy, maybe too much. There's all kinds of men, and they're all wonderful. And some are capable of having relationships with us, and some of them aren't. Some of them are blocked and scared and insecure, just like you are. But you've got to start to learn how to connect with them. And a lot of you are afraid to date because you don't know how. And that kind of leads to the next one, which is you don't have good sexual boundaries, and you use sex as a way of connecting with men. And that's another big one, because sex can be a way of pulling a man in, but it's not going to create that deep emotional connection that we're looking for. And again, many of us do not really know how to make a connection with a man. Most women don't, not a healthy connection. Because if you really understand men and you can make a healthy connection with a man, then your relationship wouldn't fall apart. You would be able to navigate that. There's really an incredible skill set involved. As I'm talking about this, I'm like, wow. But mastering all of this is amazing. I think it might shock a lot of people here to know that uh, my husband and I have never had an argument in 20 years together, not one. And we just talk about stuff. Something comes up and we handle it. If there's something he needs to say to me, oh, this happens, and I would appreciate it if you didn't do that again, or if whatever. And then I say, okay, great. Thank you for telling me. And that's it. We really don't hold on to things. We don't get up mad at each other. We know how to give each other space. But that's something that has to be learned. And to have that kind of deep, open emotional freedom and space in a relationship, you've got to learn how to do this. It doesn't just happen because you meet the right person and live happily ever after. And you can't use sex as an inroad to trying to capture a man. To be able to have this deep level, this deep understanding of how two people can, how to actually relate to each other in a healthy way, you have got to learn how to do that. You do. Very, very, very few people get this from their parents. We may learn it a little bit by observing our grandparents or our parents, but even then, I talk to women who come from parents who they feel had great relationships and they themselves haven't been able to do it. So you can't use sex. It's not going to ever get you what you want. you're going to have to learn how to get emotionally naked, right? Another one is that some of you are afraid to receive. You don't know how to receive. And that's really, really, really uncomfortable for you. You want a man who would do anything in the world for you, and you're longing for that. But some of you are overgivers. You give and give and give, and you don't have good boundaries with men. And then you feel like they take advantage of you, and you're very, very afraid. You're ambivalent because you're afraid of getting into another relationship where you're going to be taken advantage of. The real fear for a lot of you is that if you stop overgiving, is there going to be somebody? Like, will there ever really be a man? If you're going to have to stop overgiving, just stop that so that you can see if there's really a man who is going to want to take care of you, who's going to feel like, we call it, a guardian of your soul. So my husband and I actually do a 12-week program called Finding the Guardian of Your Soul. If you want to find out about it, you can go to lisashield.com and click the button and watch our free 45-minute presentation. So getting back to, not having, I'm sorry. Getting back, I lost my train of thought. So getting back to talking about, I think I was talking about not having, like, being an overgiver. So you got to stop overgiving and just sit still, right? Stop giving, because all that giving, you think you're being generous. And what it really, eventually there are guys who will sit back and just take and take and take, because that's what they do. And those are the men you're going to attract. And then you may feel like, oh my God, I just give, and all men do is take. But by overgiving, you do attract that kind of man. There are men out there who are givers, like my husband. He's so generous to me. But I spent so much of my life, longing for a man to give to me and watching men take care of other women. And I was, I think, overgiving in my relationships. I never really thought about that, but I was. And men, took advantage of it because I was willing to do it. And maybe they didn't even, they just thought I was willing to do it, but they themselves weren't generous, or they weren't giving back to me. So it's hard to just stop doing that and to receive. That's something that I had to do when I started dating 2 years ago. I just said, I'm going to start receiving. I'm going to stop, and I'm going to start to receive, and I'm going to really observe the men who are wanting to give to me, that are wanting to do nice things, the men who think about me, who show caring towards me. And so that was a behavior that I really had to shift. But there was a long time where I think it added to my ambivalence, because I just would look at these other women that men took care of, and I would think, they must have something I don't have, that men want to do that for them and not for me. My husband would do anything in the world for me, but I had to learn how to get past that ambivalence and learn how to receive. Another big one is that you feel overwhelmed by this entire process and don't know where to start. So I want to say, overwhelm is real. It is real. And all of us today are so busy and distracted that it's really daunting to have to like even think about having to learn a new skill. My mind, anytime I think about having to do something or, start a new project, I feel a little bit of a sense of panic because I know, it's going to take some work to get it going. So we will put off a lot of many tasks because there's a learning curve involved in doing them. Even if you've done something before, if you haven't done it in a long time, you sometimes have to stop and really invest some time getting back up to speed. And so and a lot of us, as we get older, we just don't have the bandwidth to learn something new. I had a woman get on a call today, and she's in her 70s, and she was struggling to get on Zoom. I have lots of 70-year-old clients who have no trouble getting on Zoom. But I could imagine, it just was daunting for her, and she didn't even know where to start. And this is a bright woman. She's a businesswoman. She's a feng shui artist and all. But yeah, it's just daunting. So I can imagine just when a lot of you are ambivalent about dating, just because you're overwhelmed and you don't know where to start, right? You don't even know where to start. And it just seems like, oh my God, I have to learn this and I have to learn that and this thing and that thing. And the truth is, there is quite a bit to learn. And so the last thing is the biggest reason, maybe why we're all ambivalent, unless you're like Buddha or an ascended master, the Dalai Lama. My husband said he's the most human person he's ever met. But for those of us real folk here on this planet, our two biggest fears are intimacy and rejection. We are so afraid of really opening up emotionally to another person, sharing our hearts, asking for what we want, what we're longing for, and being afraid that the other person doesn't want to do those things for us, be there for us, give those things. And so we're so scared to want someone who might not want us back. We'll open ourselves up, we'll share our deepest secrets, our desires, our wants, our dreams with another person who we admire, who we respect, who we care about. And they'll push us away, they'll reject us, they'll use it against us, they'll hurt us, and we're scared. And most of us have been there. We have reason to be scared. We have reason to be ambivalent. But if you don't get past that ambivalence, it'll stop you from having the most beautiful thing, the most precious thing in life, love. So my suggestion, and I think this is the answer to most of your issues in finding love, is to go to lisashield.com and just click on the button there. It's all over my page. We have a brand new website. And go watch my 45-minute presentation and just sign up for a call with us. Let us talk to you and show you how we can help you find the guardian of your soul, how we can help you make this a priority and stop pushing it off and letting your ambivalence get in the way and stop you from the most beautiful thing any human being could ever, ever, ever experience. True love. And that's what's out there for you. So I'm Lisa Shield, and I want to thank you for being here. If you want our help, go to lisashield.com and click that button and sign up for a call. I also would love it if you would like and rate the podcast, and just be honest, give us your honest feedback. We can take it. We don't take it personally. We take it to heart because we really do care, and we want to help restore your faith in love. Those of you who have really been hurt, it is hard to believe that this can happen, but it can. It really can if you're willing to face your fears. So again, like and rate the podcast. Go to lisashield.com. Look at my success stories page. Please give us a thumbs up on YouTube. And finally, please tell all your friends, your girlfriends, your mothers, your sisters, your daughters, your nieces, your bosses. Please tell them to tune in. I'm Lisa Shield. I can't thank you enough for being here. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.